science fiction on a screen so bright. Old classics and the new delights. The unapologetic geek will lead the way, with facts and fun to fill your day. Discussing every detail, every frame, from the eerie to the loud and the tame. Gig along with all that's great, those Sunday vibes you can't debate. Tug along with the Sunday crew, geeking out is what we do. Giggle on, it's gonna be great. Don't be late, let's celebrate.
Hello, hello, hello.
Greetings from South Carolina.
Welcome back to Tug Chat. I know we missed last week for Easter, much to Danny's annoyance, I'm sure. Let me go ahead and say hi in the chat. Indy is here as always.
Everyone knows it's Indy.
And yes, Indy, we are going to be talking about H.G. Wells' adaptations. There's only one on here that's not a direct adaptation of H.G. Wells, and that's Time After Time, which was...
it really is annoying we missed last week on kind of that stupid Easter Bunny, and then last night I had to do a show with him.
Yeah, I didn't know the Easter Bunny was that weird. Hello, Michael DeCosimo. Always good to see you here.
Mikey.
Carolyn, of course.
Justy.
Good to see you as well. And Texas Knight.
All my exes live there.
I'm sure more people will be popping in as we go. And
I hope.
As always, I will try to keep up, but no promises. And yeah, like I said, we are going to be talking about H.G. Wells adaptations. We're going to do it the way we did the Harryhausen movies, where I'm just going to show a quick trailer, and then we're going to talk about each movie independently.
I really like the way you're doing that.
Yeah, I did too. I really liked it with Harryhausen, so I decided I wanted to do it again. And H.G. Wells just seemed like the perfect fit. So I came up with a list of 16 H.G. Wells adaptations, which includes a lot of re-adaptations. Like there's a few copies on here. Like War of the Worlds is going to be on here more than once.
Okay. There you go.
So what I'm going to say is when we talk about a movie, we're going to talk about that movie. We're not going to talk about the remakes yet because the remakes will be later. We're going to go in order. We're going in chronological order here.
That's going to be tough in a couple of cases, by the way.
It is going to be really hard, especially like War of the Worlds.
The first one.
Yeah, that's actually going to be the very first thing we talk about. No, it's not the first one we're going to be talking about.
That one is going to be a toughie.
It is going to be toughy, yes. That one is also going to have multiple adaptations. Okay, so Slasher Fred is here. Hello.
Slash and thrash.
Yeah, War of the Worlds we will definitely get to today. It's very early on the list, so we will talk about that. I just watched it last night. I watched a bunch of these just in preparation because there's a few of them I hadn't seen in a really long time. And we'll talk about those when we get to them. Let's see. Yeah, I actually have a copy of the radio play, the Orson Welles one. And I've listened to it maybe a dozen times, and it's great every time. I love it. It gives me chills. Hey, you got 100 subs. Congratulations, Michael. That's awesome.
You could blockade England.
All right. So I'm sure everybody knows who H.G. Wells is. He needs no introduction. So let's just get started. Let me hit the first one. Island of Lost Souls. What's up, Dan?
I was talking out loud during the trailer. I was saying, wow, I'm really digging me some Panther Girl.
Yeah.
This movie caused quite a stir. I mean, we're in the pre-code era of Hollywood, so there were a lot of like salacious movies, but this one was so highly publicized, and a lot of people got very mad about the implied
Say
human on animal action, let's say.
The word you're looking for is bestiality.
it. Which I don't think YouTube has a problem with yet. So let's
Yeah. You never know.
bestiality.
I don't think YouTube understands what that means.
YouTube is that word. Oh,
there was also an effort in the 1950s, like 20 years after the movie came out, to have this movie banned for implied miscegenation, which is fun. Yeah, that's Island of Lost Souls. I love this movie. This movie is we're going to talk about the other Island of Dr. Moreau adaptations later, but this is probably my favorite one. Charles Laughton as this like kind of effete psychopath. He's the best Dr. Moreau, just hands down. There's no question about it.
Wait a minute, real quick question. Is this the one with Bela Lugosi in it?
Yes, Bela Lugosi is the sayer of the law. Yeah. Are we not men?
It's been quite a long time since I've seen the original version.
It's good. It's great.
It's not the one they usually show on cable, though.
No, not usually. So, anybody, what are your thoughts on Island of Lost Souls?
Yeah. Charles Laughton playing it as sort of like a Lord Jim character.
Yeah,
I thought he knocked it out of the park. Charles Laughton, he's one of the people. He's amazing in whatever he does. For crying out loud, he was in Abbott and Costello Meet Captain Kidd, which is arguably their worst, if not in the bottom 5. And you'd think he was up for an Academy Award. And it's funny how funny he is, because he usually plays these very sort of, as you say, like these sort of iconic cult leader like roles, but or these very like prim and proper English. But he's so darn funny. Witness for the Prosecution works as a comedy as much as it does courtroom drama, and he is, I think, at his best in this film. And the rest of the cast is great, including Simone, correct?
I think so. I don't know.
The girl,
yeah,
who's amazing. And you know what I love? A lot of people think hypersexualization in film didn't really start until the 1960s. No, quite the contrary. It was kickstarted in the 30s. And then the Hays Convention came and just sort of like, but there was a lot of really innovative film that was coming out at this time. And this may not be the high watermark, but it's an amazing example. And it's really it's a great depiction of the work of Wells.
Yeah, as much as Wells hated it, I feel like it does do Wells a lot of honor. I'm not sure why he didn't like it. I know he didn't like the addition of the Panther Woman, which might be actually the best thing about it.
I have to agree with that.
Every other adaptation that followed used the same idea that Dr. Moreau had created a female, and that's a through line because of this movie. This movie invented that idea. It didn't come from the book.
Well, I don't want to say that Wells was a misogynist. In fact, if I'm understanding, he had an affair with Margaret Sanger. But that being said, there are very few female characters in his work, and the ones that are there are a little more than window dressing. Pun intended, with a later work we'll be talking about later.
Yes.
But it's like, so even though it was a great innovation, it would have bothered him because he's like, that's not what I was going for. Well, you should have.
Yeah.
Get ahead of the curve. You're jumpstarting the golden age of science fiction. Hypersexualize people. Sorry.
No, absolutely concur.
I like this version. I like this version a lot, but it's not the version from my generation. The one that my immediate thought goes to a different version of this movie.
Yeah, the 70s version. We'll talk about it.
I remember seeing this.
You remember seeing this one?
I remember seeing this one when I was a kid on Shock Theater, and the one thing that stood out in my mind was it wasn't The Island of Dr. Monroe, and it wasn't an H.G. Wells classic. It was a movie that had Bela Lugosi in it, and that's what I remember from it being my childhood, being a Bela Lugosi fan, and this was one of the movies that had him in it, so you had to watch it.
What's crazy is this was a year after Dracula, and he was still really struggling financially. He didn't really want to take this role, but he did it anyway, and he did it for like $200, which even back then wasn't much for a major motion picture. And yeah, he had issues, we'll say. The one thing he did when asked about this movie later, he did say the one thing that he really liked was that he was able to prove that he could do horror movies with a bunch of prosthetics on his face. Like you can't really see his face; it's just hair, really. And he did say that that was a good thing, and it did help him when Universal Classic Monsters wanted to use him more in other movies, like when he did the Frankenstein movies, where he was I can't remember his name, but he was the Igor character for a while.
I thought
and
it
he had
was Igor, but
anyway, yeah, this was, and Bela Lugosi delivers all the best lines. He's just reading the law, but those are the best lines. Like, "Are we not men?" And what is the law?
Doesn't Karloff have a walk-on as one of the Animal Men too? I heard that somewhere anecdotally.
That's a rumor, but I've never been able to verify it. I've looked into it, and I have no answer for you.
One of my anecdotals.
Yes. Oh, and I do want to say hi to a couple more people showed up in the chat. Graham J, hello again.
Grammy.
And of course, Snarky. Boopies to you, Snarky. Let's see. Island of Lost Souls. I don't know. I think I've pretty much said everything I wanted to say about it. I love this movie. I really do. Okay, so let's move on. Let's do the next one. Hold on, I gotta find the buttons. Here we go.
You're crazy to know who I am, aren't you? All right, I'll show you. Help! Help! He's here! He's here!
I've made a lot of people mad by saying that is my favorite Universal Classic monster, and I stand by it. It still is.
I had the action figure as a kid.
I understand. I still got one.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for playing along.
See? There we go.
Oh, smartass. I was like,
Mine's more authentic because he's actually invisible.
Very funny, Dan. Nice.
Thank you. But you actually have one. I
actually do have one, yes. Ooh.
Okay. Since he had to put out an invisible man, and mine looked kind of fake, let me pull out a real invisible man.
There we go. Now we're talking.
It's an illustrated Invisible Man comic book from 1959, based on the H.G. Wells classic. And you can see
it's really easy to draw.
The damn blog, the video's already up. No waiting.
Very cool.
I like it.
I must confess, much as I love Claude Rains in this movie, I always had a tough time with this one because I found the idea of invisibility to be so far-fetched. Even as a child, I just couldn't.
Yeah, the logistics never worked. Like, the more you think about it, the less sense it makes.
It just, I mean, and there's always be like light would somehow refract off something, even if it just, I mean, it's like when you go into time travel. I mean, time travel is very far-fetched, but, I made a time traveling machine. Oh, okay. But invisibility, it just, but I mean, I do love Claude Rains. He does an amazing performance in this film.
Yeah. Hey, all I got to say is, in life, invisibility does kind of exist. And if you want a really good example of it, look out your window through the glass.
Yeah, but you can see the glass.
But it's still transparency, and you can see through it. It's lends the invisibility aspect. Sometimes you can't see the glass, and you run slap into it, brother.
I mean, yeah, invisibility is a thing, but I mean, if the human body were invisible, there's just so many complications. You'd go blind instantly. Like, there's so many different things that would happen to you. But that's not the point. The point of the book wasn't about the actual logistics of invisibility. The point of the book, which I do have one complaint about this movie, and that it kind of ruins the point of the book, because the book was all about how he develops this serum of invisibility and it actually corrupts him. Like, having this power to be invisible is what makes him go mad. Whereas in this movie, they kind of have this excuse that there's this other drug that's mixed into the serum that makes him unstable, this monocaine. And that wasn't in the book. And I do think it takes away from the book's message, which is that power corrupts, obviously. So that's my one complaint, but don't get me wrong. I absolutely love this movie. I love Claude Rains, and this was his breakout film role because before this, he had tried to audition in Hollywood and he had failed as an actor. Like nobody wanted him because they thought his voice was weird and he was a little too effeminate. And apparently he had a really terrible audition. Even he admits that his audition was awful. And yet James Whale heard his audition from the other room and just heard his voice and said, "That's the Invisible Man. We have to hire that guy." And that's how Claude Rains got the job.
I never heard that. That's a great story.
Yeah.
That's a great story. I love that.
I never heard that.
Yeah, that's what happened. So yeah, and that's what launched Claude Rains' career. And Claude Rains is one of the greats of early Hollywood, hands down, no question. Anybody who was in Casablanca deserves attention. So we will not be talking about The Hollow Man. I did not put it on my list because I do not like The Hollow Man.
Thank you for that.
I will mention it briefly because the reason I don't like it, it's not because of Kevin Bacon. I actually think Kevin Bacon's fine in it. And I do think that the movie does do what the book did in that he actually gets corrupted by the power of invisibility. But the movie has a couple of unnecessary scenes that are a little too... I don't want to sound like a prude, but there are scenes that are a little too graphic and a little too upsetting and unnecessarily so. Like Verhoeven was just putting it in there for reasons that I don't want to get into.
Let's tell the truth. This movie is an abomination.
It's horrible. It's really bad. Like some of the CG is okay, but a lot of it's not.
Once again, let me point out, it's really horrible, as most movies with Kevin Bacon are.
I like Friday the 13th. What are you talking about? And Tremors.
With the exceptions of Tremors, that really cool movie where he gets killed through the thug. Probably my favorite.
So yeah, Invisible Man. Anybody have anything they wanted to add? No?
No.
Right.
Yeah, I'll say that it's one of the most classic movies of all time, and it's one I did watch on Shot Theater when I was a kid. And I bring up Shot Theater a lot because I have a channel called Shot Theater that pays tribute to the old days of horror. And these old movies mean more to me than any movies out there, even crappy ones like The Giant Claw, because they're part of my childhood.
Absolutely. I do want to say we're not going to talk about the sequels, but this one had some really good sequels. I really did like Vincent Price taking over the role of the Invisible Man. Because of course I love Vincent Price. Everybody knows that. I even like when it got weird and you had the Invisible Woman, which was like a comedy, it was like a slapstick comedy, and then you had the Invisible Agent, which was like a spy movie. I love that they kept playing around with the idea of the movie, and it was mostly just a way for them to perfect special effects in the early days because each one of these movies was a special effects.
I do not remember the name of it, but there's a really old Japanese Invisible Man movie too.
It's called The Invisible Man. Yeah.
And again, it was done as an Abbott and Costello.
And yeah, there was an Abbott and Costello. But yeah, I don't think they did as well with The Invisible Man.
It had its moments.
It had its moments.
It did have its moments.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which we have talked about before, and we will definitely talk about again.
We live in interesting, exciting, and anxious times. There is war and rumor of war.
Oh, I can read. A lot of those old books. I'm not like most of the younger people here. I want to see the world.
Will this be humanity tomorrow? And the years after?
I had to edit down that trailer because the original was like 15 minutes long. It's like watching the whole movie, basically.
I've seen that, yeah.
You know, go ahead.
Thrash has always had a lot to say about this movie, and I do too, because H.G. Wells, this was his movie. Like, he basically was the one who made the movie. He didn't technically direct it, he didn't produce it, but he was the creative force behind everything, and he was on set every day.
Hey, every day drove them insane.
Yeah, to the point that they wanted to kick him off.
But his input was good.
His input did definitely help.
But he drove Corda insane. He
Absolutely.
literally drove him insane.
Yes.
But this is one of the first true post-apocalyptic films. It's the granddaddy of them all. I discovered it when I was in high school, some 400 years ago. And I absolutely fell in love with it. And it's not just the post-apocalyptic angle. It's not just the fact that everyone in it is at their best. I mean, Raymond Macy is the star, but Ralph Richardson as the boss. I fell in love with him. Oh, and by the way, I have a working theory, by the way. You know, his neighbor, Passworthy? What if Rudolph, the boss, was Pathworthy's son?
I can see that.
Supposedly, in there's a footage of a child who was unalived in the bombing raids, and they say that was Pathworthy's son. So that would take that out of the equation. He could have had more than one son too.
That's true. It is possible.
But just there's so many things about this movie I love. I mean, they do expositional film work, which just when you just sit down and like tell people what's going on, that can get cumbersome. But it shows the evolution and de-evolution. There's a march to war, where the first thing you see are armies with what would have at that time been contemporary weapons. And then as they go with the science being funneled into weapons technology, they become these like streamlined futuristic battle wagons. But then as the global economy starts to collapse from constant warfare, they go back to horse-drawn carriages. And I always say that, now you don't want to launch on Doctor Who, as we've discussed, Tug, so I apologize in advance, but the 1,000 Years War on the planet Skyro, I thought was directly taken from this. It's just a masterpiece. Now, I have to say, I don't think the second half is as entertaining as the first half. Like all epics, one portion I think works better than the other. But as a whole, I think this movie is absolutely phenomenal. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, if it were made today, I would feel like especially that last third where we're in the distant future, it feels like they ran out of the budget. Like, it's what it really feels like to me.
It does.
I do like Cedric Hardwicke as the rabble rouser. I think he's great. But yeah, the future part is not as good, is not as interesting as the post-apocalyptic section, which is like the meat of the movie. I do think it's weird that H.G. Wells foresaw an idea of making peace through gassing people, the gas of peace. It's a bit odd. But he did predict basically the nuclear bomb in this movie. When he's showing the montage of the actual war, and it goes from like the 20s to the 30s to the 40s to the 50s. When it gets to the 40s, there's a big explosion in what really, really looks like a mushroom cloud. Which is kind of scary. This movie was made in 36, so this was well before that. I'm sorry, Indy. Yes, Sir Cedric Hardwicke. And yeah, Slasher Fred. It does feel like a documentary movie, and I think that was H.G. Wells's intent. He wanted to make a documentary of the future. It's kind of interesting because if you read the story, The Shape of Things to Come, which this is based on, it's more of an essay than an actual story. It's just him like having a thought about what he thought the future would be. It's not really a narrative, but this movie manages to take his ideas and put them into a narrative, which I think actually succeeds really well. As Thrash said, it's not a perfect movie. It's not the kind of movie I'd watch over and over again, not like the first two movies. But it has a lot of interesting ideas in it, and I do feel like it was way ahead of its time.
Well, one thing for certain, y'all both like this movie way more than I did.
What else is new?
You know, it was a little too newsy, like a news broadcast, and the acting was atrocious in it. and it was really hard to follow.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Yes. Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
And for the time it come out, it gave people a really grim.
Yeah, it didn't do very well when it
That
came
was-
out because of that. People weren't looking for grim at the time.
You got to remember, in 1936, the Nazis had just come to power. Japan was acting stupid. Everybody thought the winds of war were about to blow. And by the way, the winds of war does blow.
I just got that.
With apologies to Jan Michael Vincent, sorry.
But it was that playing into that warfare that made this movie kind of blow too.
Well, the funny. Speaking of that, by the way, now we all know the story of James Whale, how his career was destroyed because he made a movie that was critical of Germany, and at the time, the English film industry wanted to keep, making money off the German audiences, even though they were mobilizing. And James Whale really felt he got the shaft, and I guess he kind of did. There's a scene in this film where when they get the radio announcement of the Pearl Harbor-esque attack, which they predicted as well, by the way. That's the weird thing as a kid that really blew my mind. There's a lot of things that he predicts that actually happened, like the attack without declaration of war,
right.
And, the bombing of London. But when the first attack comes, the radio announcer says, "We are unsure where the planes originated from," but of course, I think we all know where they did. But he won't say Germany. In fact, there's an anecdote about someone called them on the carpet for saying, clearly this is Germany. Because, what are you talking about? In the working script we had, we said Italy. We didn't even mention Germany. Now, it's probably a crock of Dingo's kidneys, but it just showed how sensitivities were really being watched for at the time, unlike today.
Absolutely. But again, that's... I got that, but that's one of the. I lost my thought as soon as I got you.
Welcome to my world.
It's brain. What is brain?
Brain. What is brain?
Okay, so let's.
I thought all the time. See there.
What's up, Donnie?
It's not the only time H.G. Wells wrote about war, so we're gonna move on to the next one.
This could be the beginning of the end for the human race. For what men first thought were meteors or the often ridiculed flying saucers are in reality the flaming vanguard of the invasion from Mars. The nations of the world mobilize their armed might, rushing to defend the Earth against the unknown weapons of the super race from the Red Planet. Is there nothing that can stop the Martian death machines?
Guns, tanks, bombs, they're like toys against them.
In my mind, this is the definitive H.G. Wells adaptation. This is it. So you guys go ahead and talk. You tell me what you think.
I love this movie. I think they did a great job on the special effects for the time. I think it was probably at that time the most outstanding movie for special effects of its era.
Yeah, and as always, they varied wildly from the source material, but I thought it worked. Those Manta ships are absolutely outstanding. I've always wanted them to do an actual adaptation of this movie where they actually use the tripods and it's just a little alien, working levers in an open cockpit. I always thought that'd be cool. But I do love the Manta ships in this. I love the look. I love the sound effects to this day. I mean, and those have been borrowed for many films since. It's just one of those movies where it just works on so many levels. And of course, as we all know, this was Wells' condemnation of the imperialist age and the colonization of Africa and the Asian subcontinent. And you certainly do get a feel for that, right down to the fact, spoiler alert, they're not wiped out by technology, they're wiped out by disease. And that was actually one of the main things which happened to the colonial troops in these areas, they usually succumb to horrible diseases. In fact, they say were it not for the discovery of quinine, it would have probably fizzled out because you would send 6 guys in and 2 would come back. No military can sustain that type of loss. But again, with quinine, when people were dying of malaria, they had a fighting chance. But that doesn't mean people approved of it. And a lot of the great writing minds in England disproved of the colonization period. Some were in favor of it. That's another story. But Wells was clearly against it.
And he wrote about it extensively, both nonfiction and fiction. And you don't have to be an English major to read War of the Worlds as a screed against British imperialism. I mean, it's obvious. It's like,
see how you like it.
I got a couple of commenters when I did my War of the Worlds video like years and years ago about it being about British imperialism. People just like calling me a liberal progressive who's just going with the latest talking points. I'm like, what? No. Get out of your political brain rot. Listen to me.
That's why he did it. He said that's why he did it. He was ahead of the curve on Rod Serling, where if I write a condemnation, I'll get in trouble. But if I make it,
that was my opinion on that is it was a different time. It was
absolutely
years ago, and we should thank British imperialism and colonization because it was them that not only built this country, built a bunch of other countries around this world and got them started.
Those are good songs to go with it, Donald. I like that.
I can see that.
I was wearing my Pink Floyd shirt yesterday. I'm not wearing it today. Okay. He was talking about the potential for a future war in War of the Worlds, but like by the time they made a movie, by the time George Powell was making a movie, World War II had already happened. So they kind of had to rewrite the story to be a reflection of war that had already happened. It's more about a commentary about World War II, which happened 10 years earlier. And I feel like it's really clever because it adds the nuclear element to it. It adds the way the military would react to the alien invasion in the modern age, modern 1953. And I feel like it does a really good job. And that vision of after they blow up the nuke on the Martians, and you're seeing just the smoke and the Martian ship, the Mantis ship, just like comes out of the smoke. That's one of the best single shots out of this movie. It's great. Which they, copied they copied multiple times in multiple movies after that, like Independence Day. It's even in Mars Attacks. And those ships, like you said, those Mantis ships, they're I say this word a lot, but I'm going to say it again. They're iconic. That's just what they are. Designed by Albert Nozaki, the same guy who made Robbie the Robot and the robot from Lost in Space, the name of which always escapes me for some reason.
And again, the thing about Wells is, and I always say his influence on science fiction, it can't be overstated. The Martians don't come now in a lot of science fiction. The invaders are sadistic or destroy humanity for laughs. He makes it very, very clear the Martians, they're out of resources. And it's us or them situation. That doesn't make it any nicer or kinder or justifiable, but it gives them a sympathetic edge other science fiction didn't have, and that had been borrowed so many times. It was the Gamelons in Space Battle Cruiser Yamato. It was the Decepticons in Transformers. We see that a lot. It's like, we're not doing this for fun. We're doing this because if we don't, we'll die. For crying out loud, speaking of one of the books that Mr. Cameron borrowed from in I don't even have to say it now, do I?
I've got nothing but love for my referenced Avatar in my Lay the Weapon review.
Well, I'm not so much knocking as saying, clearly it is an homage to science fiction, and I call that I call that the Cameron rule. When you borrow from one book, it's plagiarism, but when you borrow from all of them, it's an homage. Cinder Harlan Ellison. But yes, I love this movie, and it's arguably my favorite. There's one other one that's a chief contender, and I'm sure you can think of what it is, and I'm sure we'll get to it down the road. But this one is really up there.
Yeah, there's a couple on this list that I really, really like, but there's a part of me that just can't let go of this movie as like the definitive H.G. Wells adaptation, because it's the first one I saw. It's the one I grew up watching over and over and over again. Gene Barry as this built guy, but he puts on nerd glasses and all of a sudden he's a nerd. I love that. Like, that's the 1950s for me, just in a nutshell, is Gene Barry and glasses.
The supporting cast is sorry, Dan.
Yeah, I was saying, if I was making a list of my favorite top 10 science fiction movies of all time, kind of purely science fiction, this definitely would be on that top 10 list.
And the supporting cast, I mean, Cedric Hardwicke as the narrator.
Yes. Again, Cedric Hardwicke.
Les Tremaine, in a rare case where he's actually in front of the camera. In a world, Paul Frees.
Paul Frees, of course.
Paul Frees, of course, yes. So yeah, and the funny thing about Cedric Hardwicke and Paul Frees is they've made more than one appearance in a Wells adaptation.
Yep.
I think it's just amazing you can remember all these people's names.
Well, you know how many times I've seen the movie?
Yeah, I don't remember everybody's name in it.
Making these sci-fi classic reviews that I do on my channel has really helped like solidify a lot of these names in my head, because you come across them so many times, especially when you're talking about the 1950s. You get basically the same handful of actors in every sci-fi movie, which is great. Makes it easier. I do love the anecdote behind the scenes. Like, this is 20 years before Jaws, and you had the limitations of the special effects actually working to the movie's benefit, because the original script had a lot more of the actual Martians. You actually are supposed to see more of them. But when they made the Martian, which they basically made out of paper mache, believe it or not, it didn't last very long. It started to melt and fall apart and collapse under its own weight. So they could only really film it for one or two scenes. And even then, they could only show it very, very briefly. And that makes for that wonderful scene where the Martian's hand goes up onto the actress's, I can't remember her name, the actress's shoulder, and then you see it for a second and it screams and runs away. The reason you don't see much of it is because of the technical limitations, not because that was in the script, but it works so well.
It's so worked.
It's like the most horrifying scene in the movie. It's great. And like you said, if you look at the movie from the perspective of the Martians, it's kind of a tragedy. They're fighting for survival in their eyes, and in the end they just die, because they don't know what germs are. I know this movie got a lot of flack for its religious themes because H.G. Wells is an avowed atheist. But if you read The War of the Worlds, everything that this movie leans on in the end, the whole, religious message that this movie tries to portray, is in the book. It's there. Granted, the book also has that scene with the guy in the basement who's like a religious nut job. And that's not in this movie. We do see it later. We'll talk about that tomorrow or next week. But in this movie, it's not there. But it does have those religious themes that, like, the whole climax at the church, and they're praying to God, and it's only through that God in his wisdom put germs on the earth to save us from the Martians. The church isn't in the book, but the whole God put germs on the earth is totally from the book. It's there. You can read it for yourself.
Verbatim.
Yeah.
Literally verbatim.
Who would ever thought the germs were here to protect us?
Yeah, that was the irony that he was going for. Yeah.
Well, it could be taken the other way too. People would say Gaia, the earth would defend itself.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. Perhaps Wells was being ironic. Maybe he made a one-time exception. Not sure, but it works and it is there.
Yeah, agreed. And I do think that when you take into that, and when you take into account the colonialist message of the movie and the story, the idea of germs being there to prevent basically to prevent empire. Like that's the whole purpose of these diseases that are stopping British imperial invasion of the entire world, you know. But that's enough of that. No, but I really do want to get the 4K version that comes with When Worlds Collide. I've seen it. I saw it at the store the other day, actually. And no, I don't have it, but I want it. So if you want to buy it for me, let me know. Okay, so we will get back to War of the Worlds later in adaptations that are not as good as this one, but we will talk about them. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. Unless anybody has anything else to say.
I'm looking forward to bashing Tom Cruise.
Oh, we'll bash. We will. Don't
There
worry.
will be bashing.
Such stories as H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds and Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea have challenged mankind. So today, man is successfully probing deep into the mysteries of the universe. Can he penetrate the greatest mystery of all, time itself?
Now, whereas War of the Worlds was my first H.G. Wells movie, The Time Machine was my first Wells book, the first one I ever read. And, you know, surprise, surprise, I'm obsessed with time travel. I've always loved The Time Machine. It's probably my favorite of his stories. And I think it's one of his first, if not his first, like full-length novella. What can you say about The Time Machine, the movie? I don't know. I'll collect my thoughts. You guys talk amongst yourselves.
When I said there was one other film that might be my favorite Wells adaptation, this is it. This might narrowly beat out War of the Worlds. Not to knock War of the Worlds, but this one might beat it out. I just love the way they adapted it. I have a couple of caveats to that, but I want to open with the positives. I just think Taylor is absolutely outstanding in this film. He really carries the movie, and considering it's not a one-man show, but the most of the movie is just him reacting to things, and I think he does an amazing job. I thought the staging in the beginning that could have really lost us, but it didn't. I looked at so they could give us a really good solid kickoff point. With Sebastian Cabot and the other, and then it kicks off into this adventure epic with this guy who up until recently had been just sort of this Victorian fop, and then he has all these amazing adventures. I love the design of the Morlock. I know a lot of people think that they're hokey. I think they're absolutely amazing with the glowing eyes and the sort of fangs, which I believe they use later for what was it, White Demon? But just the way they lock, I thought they're absolutely scary, even though they're sort of the color of Star Wars blue milk. I love how the Eloi are portrayed, even though it's completely different in the movie. In the movie, they're more like big toddlers. They're only about like 4 feet tall, and they do that thing where like that little kids do when they smile, their eyes disappear.
Yeah.
And they're more just very, very simple. Like we've devolved into, we stopped developing at the toddler stage, and I found that I thought that could have worked, but I do like the way they did it here, where they're more like just pampered millennials.
I was thinking hippies, but okay, yeah, same thing.
Tomato. At least hippies worked. And I just thought this movie is really it's an amazing adaptation. Again, deviating from the source material. I was a little bummed out that he didn't go forward. After the climactic Morlock battle, he goes back. He grabs the 3 books, and I can't tell you the number of times I've had conversations of what 3 books would you take. It's a great conversation piece. But he goes back to rebuild society, and there's hope. And in the book, it's like, nah, no matter what you do, we're going to end up as basically being jellyfish.
Right.
And I guess they decided
on the beach.
Yeah, exactly. I guess they just didn't want to go that route.
Well, I mean, from the way you pace a movie, like the climax has already happened, so why would you bother like having this extended fourth act where you're going into the future to see some jellyfish? Like I can see why they didn't do it and why no other adaptation of this book has done it. Like you just don't see it. Maybe if they did a mini series they could do it, but
this would work, actually. Now that you mentioned it, this would work as a Netflix miniseries. It would.
Totally.
But I think it was more they wanted to give it a Hollywood ending. He goes back and he saves humanity. Well, we still die anyway, don't we? Shush. It's like when you get into the Star Wars future with the war with those lizard things. It kills like 150 trillion people, and it's like, so basically everything that's happened during the time of Luke Skywalker is pointless.
Right.
Because everything gets wiped out anyway. Is that what you're trying to tell me? Well, technically.
But Donald raises a good point. I think one of the reasons that George Pal and H.G. Wells work so well together is because they were both very optimistic. As much as Things to Come seems all dour and dismissive, it's actually an optimistic movie in the end. And Wells was a utopian. He really did believe that progress would lead to a utopia, and he just kept trying to figure out how that would happen. This movie, or this story, which he wrote early in his life, is a little different, but that kind of optimism was also part of George Pal. Like that was just part of his philosophy of life. So I think that George Pal only made 2 H.G. Wells movies, but they're like the 2 best ones. And I think that might be one.
I'm like you, Tug. I read the book before I saw the movies or got into that.
Yeah.
And I will pull out my prop. It's a original time machine comic.
Very cool.
Love it.
So actually, I think the comic book version of the time machine may have been the first exposure I had to the time machine story. I did have a collection of comic books when I was way younger, a Pee-wee kid, and a lot of stuff in them comic books I hadn't seen, like the Three Musketeers and Robin Hood, until later on.
I promise you, Don, I'll talk about that one later. Well, yeah, I think you're right, Tug. Because Pal survived the Second World War and witnessed his homeland and most of Europe destroyed, he had to believe. I think he coped with that by saying that was a horrible chapter, but we're heading in the right direction. Because at the risk of misquoting Wells, my understanding of his philosophy of utopia is the way we get there is with a bunch of false starts.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sooner or later, we'll get in the can. It's as Douglas Adams says, the trick is just keep banging the rocks together. Yeah. So yes. Yeah, I can see how their utopian idealism would fit very well together.
Yeah.
But you really have to cling to it. When you believe it, you're really going to cling to it.
Unless you surprise me with something I'm unaware of, I'm pretty sure that the time machine would be my favorite work by H.G. Wells.
I will say it has my favorite sci-fi movie prop of all time, and that is the time machine. It's the best. Like when you think of the time machine, this is what you think of. You think of Rod Taylor in this machine with the big spinning wheel behind him and everything. In the book, it's barely explained what the time machine is. But
if you look at this, it's more like he's sitting in a gyroscope in the comic.
Yeah, that's a little weird. I like it, but it's weird.
And it's got some training wheels on it.
It kind of reminds me of that device from South Park that we're not going to talk about. I love Rod Taylor. I also really like Alan Young, future Uncle Scrooge himself.
Yes.
He's what make the two of them are what make the first third of the movie worth watching, because they have such great chemistry together, and they're like their philosophical debate is like the linchpin of the entire story. And I love that, and I love Alan Young. He's great. One of my favorite unsung character actors.
But this is not my favorite movie version of the time machine. My favorite movie version of the time machine will probably come later on and involve a serial killer.
I bet it does.
Yes, we will talk about that. That was the one that's not directly based off of anything H.G. Wells wrote.
But it should have been.
But close enough.
Yeah. In the spirit, you might say.
Come on, you can't. H.G. Wells is actually a character in the bloody movie. Come on.
Yes, he was. We'll talk about it probably next week. We'll talk about it. Don't worry.
I didn't say the name. I said that's one of my favorites. Would be something else. That's all.
And yes, Alan Young was also in Mr. Ed. Yes, of course.
The horse, of course.
He was not the horse.
No, he was a Yahoo. And I bet Indy is the only person who gets that reference. Well, I know you did, Doug. You laughed.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I want to talk more about the time machine.
Okay, we can. Yvette Milieu was cute in it.
Yvette Milieu, yes.
I always mispronounce her name and always will. But
I had to learn I spent a lot of time on it when I did my video on the time machine, which I think was like my third video on my channel. But I spent a lot of time just trying to figure out how to say Yvette Milieu. I listened to like interviews with her and I listened to her say it over and over again. So yeah.
Well, I always liked the fact that she managed to play this very innocent character, not as a ditz.
Right.
Weena's actually very intelligent. She just has very limited scope because the Eloi were basically kept as cattle. So
yeah, she could have very easily just been a blonde bimbo, like
she wasn't a tee, Although I remember a lot of people give her flack because when she says her name, Weena,
right.
but she's not a ditz. She's actually very intelligent, and remember, she actually is very germane to the plot. I mean, she's the one who shows them the speaking discs. She's the one. A lot of the interactions he has with the Morlocks, she basically.
Yeah, he wouldn't have survived without her.
Yes,
well,
exactly.
I don't remember her being named Wiener.
Weena.
It's like Wiener with a very British accent. Wiener.
Although, uncomfortable elephant in the room. Why are all the people in the future beautiful blonde people?
Let's not talk about that.
Elephant in the room. I had to mention it. Shane would show up and put something in the comments. I could feel it.
I'm sure. Yeah. By the way, for those of you wondering, I have talked to Shane. He's just usually busy on Sundays, but he will try to make it next week.
Cool.
You have to forgive Shane. He's in Canada, and the reception
he's in Canada
not good in the Great Northwest.
He says that's where I would be. Oh. Anyway.
But he does really want to talk about the last movie on my list because
I just had a vision of Shane touring some castle where they make beer.
Elsdor Castle, Strange Brew. I love that movie.
It's such a great movie.
I love that movie.
I love that beer. I make an obscure reference, and Thrash always gets it.
It took me a second, but once Thrash said the name of the castle, I went, oh, right, Strange Brew. Darth Vader on a hockey field. Yeah, got it.
Well, the funny thing is, I saw the movie before I'd read Hamlet, so I didn't get a lot of the jokes at first. I read Hamlet like my senior year. I'm like, oh! I thought they were just being weird. No, this movie is basically Hamlet on ice with beer.
But with the time machine, with the book, more so than the movie, but the movie definitely helps. I do feel like it's become cultural shorthand. Like the Morlocks and the Eloi has become just it's an archetype. It's basically a Jungian archetype at this point. And pretty much all time travel fiction owes something to H.G. Wells, because without the time machine, Time Machine basically set the template, set the rules, explained how it works, and every time travel story since then has been trying to do the same thing, basically. That's how I see it, at least. And I think this movie helped popularize that, helped keep it in the cultural consciousness, and led to the time travel movies that came much later, like in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So yeah, the Time Machine.
I mean, yes, there's before the Time Machine and after Time Machine.
Right.
Literally.
The thing about H.G. Wells is you read in any one of his books in isolation, and you can kind of see it as a template. Like, this is why he's one of the grandfathers of science fiction along with Jules Verne, is that if you take any one story, and you could see an entire subgenre was born from that story. You know, you've got the time machine, you've got the War of the Worlds, the whole alien invasion subgenre starts with the War of the Worlds. You know, you've got Island of Dr. Moreau, you've got just everything just kind of like spirals out into its own thing. He gave birth to so many different types of sci-fi stories. You got to give H.G. Wells credit. So.
You know, it would be like saying, I love shark movies, but I've never seen Jaws.
Right. Like, what? That doesn't make sense.
What is this Dracula you speak of? You know? Yeah. Oh, one more thing I have to throw out there, by the way, is that one of the dynamics is, and yes, we have the dystopian angle where basically the classes of the people become super polarized.
Right.
One thing I loved about this, though, is usually the upper crust become even more powerful and the lower class become even more servile. In this, he flips the script. The effete, bougie, worthless parasites who can't do anything, literally, incapable themselves into servitude, while the workers who control everything and still understand technology use them as food. And I can't help but think that maybe he was doing that on purpose as another sort of jab. Hey, rich people, read this.
There is definitely an eat the rich attitude in this, like literally eat the rich. Yes,
literally, literally. And I always found that dynamic really cool because again, you're like, oh look, the powerful even more powerful in the future. Well, not in this case.
And even you're right. Even though they are kind of goofy looking, I thought the Morlocks were creepy as a kid, like very creepy. Especially that one scene, like right at the end when he's fighting off the one Morlock and he dies, and then you see his like corpse just disintegrate. I don't know. As a kid, that creeped me out. Some great stop motion effects. I don't know why we didn't talk about this movie when we talked about stop motion.
Yeah, why didn't we?
Why did we miss that?
And it's George Pell too, and we talked about him extensively.
Anyway, great movie.
Bad us.
We'll have to rectify that next time.
We'll do another show on stop motion. No! Stop the motion! Stop the motion!
Okay, speaking of movies that we have already talked about recently, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next one.
Ever since time began, man has been fascinated by the mystery of the moon. But over 60 years ago, writer H.G. Wells anticipated the shape of things to come with his fascinating adventure, First Men in the Moon.
So here we are. It's the 1960s, where the space race has already started. You know, the whole Sputnik thing has happened. You know, people are starting to talk about maybe going to the moon. I mean, this is still before Kennedy's speech, but it's coming. And so people look back at this old H.G. Wells story about going to the moon. And how would you adapt that in the 1960s? Answer: Ray Harryhausen. I feel like this movie is very clever, whereas a lot of H.G. Wells adaptations will set it in the present day. Whereas I think this one, it still sets it in antiquity. Like there's bookends in the present day, but it still takes place in the time period in which it was written. Just like The Time Machine also did the same thing. And so that's how they managed to get around a lot of the problems. I do think this is a good adaptation, but it's not a great adaptation. You kind of see how the budgetary constraints were a big problem. There are a lot of ideas that are in the book that are not in the movie, like the plants that come to life in the sun and then die at night. Anyway, it's still a great movie. It's got some great Ray Harryhausen effects, as we've talked about. And Edward Judd, even though he may have been a terrible human being, actually is great in this movie. I really like him in this movie.
Well,
And of course, Lionel Jeffries.
in my opinion, it's the Ray Harryhausen effects in the movie that makes it tolerable. Everything else about this movie makes me want to barf. And if I was picking all the movies, like, this would be the bottom of the list. It'd be the last one on it.
I think you're maybe over hating it, but again, we all done our
I'm just saying, if I was making a list of all the movies, this would be the one on the bottom.
I can think of one or two that will be believed.
There are a couple of movies we're going to talk about that are worse than this, but it's not.
Oh, no, there's a lot worse. There's a lot worse movies than this. I'm just saying of the ones you've listed in the back chat thing. This one would be my least favorite of that bunch, but on its own, it's still probably a lot better than some of the other crap that was out at the time.
No, I don't disagree with you, honestly.
And if it had a bigger budget, I think he could have rectified that. Like Harrison went on great, and we've talked about this before, but he had some tremendous world building ideas that he couldn't do. Also, the Solonites, one of the key things about them in the book is they have no rhyme or reason. I'm frozen, aren't I?
You are.
Yeah. He basically says no two particularly look alike.
Right.
In the movie, they didn't have the budget for that, so they're all identical. That bothered me like a lot. I'll pop out.
Go ahead and pop out and pop back in. I'm just gonna highlight what you said.
You folks up looking all surprised that I said something bad about a movie. Yeah, of all the movies on the list, this might be one of the few that I say something bad about. I didn't like this movie, and to be honest with you, I didn't like the book. That book dredged on.
No, you're not wrong. It's not my favorite H.G. Wells story. It is kind of slow and doesn't really seem to have a point, honestly.
The book spent so much more time on people's relationships and their how they're getting along, and very little time on technology and actually going to the moon.
Yeah, like they come up with this levitation technology, and he never does anything interesting with it other than go to the moon. Like it's like this stuff he paints onto the craft. And there's a lot of cool ideas you could go with that. If you were looking at it from a technological point of view, if that existed, what could you do with it other than go to the moon? But he doesn't do that in the story or in the movie. It's just go to the moon.
Disney ripped it off real good with the Flubber thing. So.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Flubber is basically that.
So they knew where to go with it eventually.
In a far more mundane style.
A far better movie.
House on the Moon, yeah.
But yes, you're right, Donald. It did have to update some of the science because by the 60s, we knew that the moon didn't have an atmosphere. Plant life could not have possibly survived on the surface. But I don't think that matters. I think you could totally make a movie based on a classical sci-fi and keep all the anachronisms in, and I think it would be fine. I don't think people would mind. I really don't.
I think people would prefer it.
Yeah, honestly. Like, give me the Martian Chronicles. Make it book accurate. I'd read it. I'd watch it.
Yes.
Yeah.
For Christ's sake, yes. Oh, and the movie does another thing. It introduces a completely superfluous female character for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, and this one, it's way worse than in some, like most of the movies we talked about do that. Even Island of Lost Souls did that. Yeah. But I feel like this is probably the worst example because she doesn't really have any chemistry with Edward Judd
at all. And she serves no purpose to the plot.
Yeah,
at all.
Just a damsel. That's all she's there
for. Screams occasionally.
Yeah,
it's like it'd be one thing if they actually made her a caricature, but they did not. And
we get to talk about this movie on the week they actually went to the moon again. So.
That's true. Hey, Artemis too. Yeah.
Did they go to the moon? I hadn't heard.
They landed on it though. I don't know if they landed on it. They went around.
No, it was just a flyby. But it's the closest anybody's been to the moon in 50 years. So
it's still there.
60 years.
Yeah. At a cost of how many trillions of dollars? I'm sorry.
I'd rather them spend money on that than other things. So.
I suppose.
I think it's very important. We must establish a base on the moon and a base on Mars in case something really bad happens to this shithole we call Earth. At least the human race will survive.
Yeah, man, we should have done that by 2001. We should have already been on the moon so we could find the monolith and all that stuff. Like. As a Gen Xer, I am very disappointed that the space race didn't continue. Like I I wanted us to be on Mars by now. Like, really, I wanted it to happen in my lifetime so that I could go there. You know, build that space elevator already. Dang it.
One thing I wanted to point out about First Man on the Moon though is, and Jeffries really makes the movie. He's the shining star in this film, apart from the Harryhausen animation. But I absolutely love the scene where he meets with the High Solanite.
Right.
And there's this wonderful scene because they're trying to communicate, and the Solonites are using some type of translator. You don't see a computer or anything, but it's just the idea that it's basically trying to turling eyes the English into their language and vice versa. And Jeffries goes, "I'm a man," and the man. And he goes, "He's trying to communicate with me. It's Imperial." And the Solonite just in this very grim voice goes, "Man, it's Imperial." So it's like they know having humans here is not going to be a good thing. And they actually talk about that extensively in the book. And again,
H.G. Wells and imperialism, it's a thing.
Well, not just that. Jeffries doesn't opt to stay there to sacrifice. They keep him.
Right, they keep him. Yeah.
And they make him he builds a radio in his downtime because they enslave him and they make him create spheres so they can come down to the Earth to basically Mars attacks us. You know, the idea like we're going to do this to you before you did. It's the preemptive counter strike, I guess you could say.
Right. And
it's a very, very, very grim ending. And the survivor, I can't remember what his name is in the book, but he can't even help build a counter invasion fleet because some schmuck kid he's showing the sphere to goes, "What's this button do?"
Yeah, he freaking basically kills a kid for negligence at the end of the book. It's messed up.
And it's like, wow. It's a very, very, very grim ending, even for Wells.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know?
Oh, come on. Don't be too upset that some annoying little Kenny gets to.
I knew Dan would like that part. Should have put that in the movie. The movie is weird, though. It ends with them all being dead in the present day, which is not in the book. They didn't all die. That didn't happen.
But again, it's by contamination of germs.
Right. So, nice little nod there, So yeah, I think we managed to cover this movie in a different way than we talked about it like just a month ago. So good for us. Let's move on to the next one.
More frightening than his War of the Worlds. More imaginative than his Time Machine. Now, H.G. Wells' masterpiece of science fiction, The Food of the Gods. The terrifying tale of man fighting for his life against an ecology gone berserk. Marjo Gortner. Ida Lupino. H.G. Wells' The Food of the Gods, for a taste of hell. Rated PG.
Now, before anybody says anything, I got to say my piece. This movie is terrible. It's very badly made. It's very cheaply made. The effects are kind of laughable and stupid. The acting is over the top. The plot is derivative and cliche. It has very little to do with H.G. Wells' story. But I love this movie. I absolutely love it. Especially the last half when it basically turns into Night of the Living Dead with giant rats. I love it.
It's one of my favorites of all time.
Yes, exactly.
Another one that I have the comic book edition. And may I say it on this point that the comic book version is so much more graphically violent and gnarly.
Nice.
I can see it. Oh, and I attribute it more to Day of the Triffids.
Yes, of course.
Day of the Triffids is the most influential post-apocalyptic book of all time.
Hey, it's got the cover that gives Sarah nightmares.
But yes, it's awful, but it's fun. It's the classic guilty pleasure film. This film came out, I think I was like 11, and I remember the poster art like traumatized me when I was a kid. It's the rat in the tree like a panther with a dead woman.
Right, right.
Eating, and it's like, I remember being in summer camp and rats used to catch and eat toads, the little peepers. Rats would catch them and eat them. So it's like I can picture what the rat would do. There was an urban legend around Cape Cod at the time about I won't bore you with the campfire story, but it was called Ratman.
The Ratman.
And Ratman was a cryptid, and he had a taste for human flesh because, as you know, and it's the one thing in the book and the movie, rather, I should say, that I always wondered about. Rats, when they really need food, turn cannibal.
Yeah, they eat each other.
It would have been much easier for the rats to turn on the runt of the rats than to try to claw their way through the house. And I'm like, why aren't they turning on each other? Rats do that. But apparently it was more interesting to turn it into a Day of the Trishans slap.
I imagine it was a lot harder to fake rats eating each other than rats being shot, because they did fake it. The rats are not actually being shot. They're just being hit by red paint, basically, and getting stung.
I remember this being one of the movies that was a double feature with Empire of the Ants for $1 at the Dollar Movies.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
For $1, you get to see two movies, and you can see Food of the Gods and Empire of the Ants.
Oh,
It's
also,
a good double feature.
If anyone has read Brian Aldiss's The Saliva Tree is a love letter. As I'm sure you guys know, Aldous had a bromance. He had a man crush on H.G. Wells, loved H.G. Wells. And Food of the Gods was his tribute to... Saliva Tree was a tribute to Food of the Gods. If it was written by H.P. Lovecraft.
Nice. I'd read that.
It's good.
I should read it.
Please, it's one of my favorite stories.
Yeah, and in the future, we should do the works of H.P. Lovecraft. He got some gnarly movies.
He does, actually. When I get around to covering Reanimator on my channel, we'll make that a topic. Yeah, like I said, I do love this movie. The giant chicken is so laughable.
Come on, man. That giant chicken makes the movie, man. Imagine how big them eggs be, boy.
And of course, speaking of a nod to H.P. Lovecraft, at the end, the water system is contaminated with this new goop,
right,
and will cause the children to mutate and turn on their adults.
Which, like the idea of children being mutated by this stuff is from the book, but that's like the majority of the book. Whereas here, it's just like the teaser at the end,
Yeah, specifically, I was speaking to the, as you say, the movie, but but of course, Lovecraft does that in The Color Out of Space, which has been adapted 4 times and not done properly in any of them. But that's a different adaptation.
The Nicolas Cage one's not bad, but it's not a great adaptation. But I do love it for reasons we'll talk about when we talk about H.P. Lovecraft.
Fair enough. And now I shall tell the story so fierce that was once told to me by the old farmer named Piers. I'm trying to adapt it as a Dr. Seuss. I don't know if you've seen any of these Dr. Seuss adaptations of H.P. Lovecraft.
Only because you've told me about them and you made me go look at them up.
Outstanding.
They're great. They're fantastic.
Outstanding. I love them.
There's an out there, boy.
So anyway, Food of the Gods. Why do I love this movie so much? I think it's because it's so unapologetic. It's an AIP movie, the George Corman people. And it shows it's an exploitation movie at its heart. And I think that's one of the things that makes it so good. It's unapologetic. And I like I'm struggling coming up with words to describe this movie.
One thing while you contemplate, the main character, I feel compelled to point out, had been a former evangelical preacher.
Right.
So I think he used a lot of that charisma when he went into acting, particularly in this film, because he really, I wouldn't say his performance is great, but he's a very captivating character.
I didn't know that, honestly. The Marjo or whatever his name is.
I forget his name, but yeah, he came from this family of evangelicals and started preaching when he was like 8.
He was a very believable football player. So, oh yeah, so Indy is already ahead of you. Yeah, he's a former child preacher, Marjo Gortner.
Well, we're on the same page, I think. And he did become a schlock actor, but he always gave a very strong performance.
I like that the characters in this movie are again, they're archetypes. I mean, you've got the pregnant lady who's not really sure she actually wants to get married to the kind of cowardice guy. You've got the evil corporate greedy dude who just wants to take the food of the gods for himself. And, you've got the old woman who's kind of dense, doesn't really realize what's happening. I love that. You've got the stereotypical hero and the damsel in distress. Like I said, this movie is so unapologetic about what it is. And I love that.
She even does that typical scene out of the airplane movie where she confesses that she wants him to.
That was so weird. Is it weird that I want to have sex with you right now? He's like,
exactly.
No, but we'll talk about that later. I like that scene.
Mercy.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. It's kind of like a spiritual sequel, made by the same guy. Here we go.
In this fantastic tale, Wells tells the chilling story of a colony of ants who feed on atomic waste, causing them to grow into large, voracious monsters.
Let's get out of here, come on!
He needs us. That's why it has to be this way. Why we must obey.
Them meets Phase 4.
Yes. Phase 4 almost made my list because Saul Bass did say that it was loosely inspired by Empire of the Ants.
No shit.
No shit.
I honestly, I never knew that.
But I didn't, because it's enough. It's enough of its own thing that it didn't really qualify. And this also is kind of its own thing. It doesn't really have that much in common with the story. The story is great.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dan. What were you saying?
I like Empire of the Ants. I remember that. Like I said, it was a double feature with Food of the Gods the same year.
Yeah, I mean, like, as a double feature with Food of the Gods, it's fantastic. It is basically the same movie, spiritual successor. I like Food of the Gods a little bit more, but I do think Empire of the Ants has its pluses. I really like the last third of Empire of the Ants, where it turns into Invasion of the Body Snatchers for some reason. I love that. I think it's great. It comes out of nowhere. There's like this opening narration that talks about pheromones controlling the minds of the ants, and then there's nothing until like the climax of the movie where they discover everybody's under the control of the queen's pheromones, which I think is fun. I really do. I do love that whole bit. I do think it drags. The movie drags a lot, especially in the middle, where they're just trekking through the jungle with the ants basically guiding them. And the one asshole character
is hurting them.
Hurting, thank you. That is the word I was looking for. And Joan Collins is there for some reason.
She needed a paycheck. I think it was right before she was back on Dynasty, and that made her big comeback. So I think she needed the money.
That would make sense. Yeah. I mean, that's why people go to AIP, right? So yeah, like I said, I like this movie. I think Food of the Gods is a little bit better. It's just a little bit tighter.
It's a little bit more comical anyway.
Yeah.
You can enjoy it more in a humorous sense.
And I could like the rat effects aren't great, but like I find them a lot more believable than the ant effects. The ants are so silly.
There's some shots where you actually, like in 1 Million BC, where the tarantula, you actually see it eating the cricket.
Yeah.
If you look closely. In this, if you look closely, they're climbing up the glass.
The glass, yeah.
Which isn't there. Just for some reason, there's one ant that's like 5 or 6 feet off the ground going like this. It's like, why?
And that was still better than some of the effects I saw in them, and I liked it too.
Well, I mean, yeah, but we're talking about a 25-year difference.
And let's face it, them just had character.
This movie did also steal that sound effect, the sound effect of the ants. I mean, it's almost exactly the same as the sound effect they used in them. Slightly different, but it's basically the same.
You know, there's something in the woods around here that makes that same sound, like a bug or something sometimes, and it kind of freaks me out because I
think giants,
empire ant sound in the woods or whatever.
This movie does have some great scenes. Like there's the old couple who can't keep up, and they wind up hiding in a shack, and the old man's like, "We'll be safe in here," even though there's no reason to believe he'll be safe in there. And then like the night passes and it's daytime, and he's like, "Yes, we're still safe. Everything's fine. Let's go outside. It's all quiet." And they go outside and it's just covered in ants. There's ants everywhere. It makes no sense that they'd be that quiet, but it's a perfect scene. It's a great scene. It's kind of like a proto slasher movie in the first half. This is before Halloween, but yeah, it's kind of that.
I'll buy that. Yeah. Or Friday the 13th. Or any of them. Pick one.
Yeah.
Pick one.
I mean, there were a handful that came before this, like Black Christmas and the one with the cameraman who stabs. I can't remember the name of it.
But yeah, Black Christmas is considered the first, and I have gone to great lengths to try to disprove that, and I can't.
I still think Psycho was the first, technically.
But again, we knew that the kill. Yeah, that's another show. That's another show.
I'm sure Dan would have a lot to say on that conversation.
I do see your point, but that's another show.
I had to think it over.
Anyway, Empire of the Ants. Do you have any other thoughts, Dan?
I remember it fondly from my childhood. I love that movie greatly.
Thank you. Peeping Tom is the movie I was thinking of.
Not that movie. I was talking about Empire of the Ants.
I know. I was talking to Andy.
Yeah.
And yeah, Joan Collins, especially in this movie, she's got so much makeup on. She doesn't even look real. She doesn't look like a human being. But I do like, as an exploitation movie, you've got like 3 different women, and they spend most of the movie wet and not wearing any bra. So it's always something I like about a movie.
It was the 70s.
Yeah. And then we are now at the exact halfway point. I think we're going to stop here. So that next week we can talk about the more recent H.G. Wells adaptations. I will say in the outset that while there are some very good movies that we'll be talking about next week, most of them are not going to be as good as the movies we talked about this week.
What in particular?
Well, I can think of one that's probably better. But...
I mean, there are some good ones. Don't get me wrong. But some of them are not. But I will have a lot to say about them because even the ones that are bad, I do feel like they have some redeemable qualities. And I like to defend bad movies. It's kind of what I do. So we're going to talk about that. I will not defend Tom Cruise, though. I know better. I've learned. So, Thresh, let's talk about what we're doing tonight.
Yes. So tonight, Dan and you and I and Sister Sarah will have guests tonight as we plunge into the realm of the paranoia and UFO-y stuff.
Are you tripping, man? We're talking about time travel tonight. What have you been smoking? The opium? He's been smoking the opium again, boy.
Remember, Repo Man, spaceships and time travel are the same.
Oh.
Aliens are just us from the future.
Yeah.
we're gonna take on time travel tonight with somebody who actually made a time machine.
Time machine.
Yes. Very cool.
Hopefully he'll show up and not get sucked away into a portal or something.
I'm sorry. I was trying to be avant-garde and I failed miserably. I'm very sorry. But yes, tune in tonight. We'll have a show. Sorry. that didn't go nearly as well as it did inside.
I am very excited for tonight. I've been really looking forward to this one ever since you guys told me about it. Obviously, because like I said, I'm obsessed with time travel. And I do not have a video dropping today, unfortunately. I'm still trying to pace myself a little better. But I do have a video on Quatermass 2 coming out next week. It'll be the third movie in a row where I get political, and I'm not going to apologize for that.
Okay.
So yeah, Quatermass 2. One of my favorite sequels. I will talk about that next week. And again, next week we will be here. We will continue this discussion of H.G. Wells' movie. Damien will be joining us, and maybe Shane as well. So I'll see you then. I got nothing else.
Damien and Shane join us. We'll recap for them a couple of these movies from this week, I'm sure.
Yeah. We can always just go over it real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and hit the button then.
Peace.
Thank you, everybody in the chat. See you next time.
Thank you, and good night.
Good show. Thanks.
That was a blast.